Hey everyone, and in today's video I'll be discussing why George Lazenby only did one Bond film, and the answer to which is very straightforward. But before we get into this video, can you please like and subscribe? So why did George Lazenby only do one Bond film? Now of course the reason why he only did one Bond film, we'll get into that slightly later. But first of all, of course, we need to address the fact that he's infamous that he only did one Bond film, and at the time the film was not very well liked, and so why he only did one Bond film is actually a question that hasn't actually come up till recently, if that makes sense, because no one really liked him. However, that is now kind of the infamous film that he was the only one that did one Bond film, but it was a very, very good James Bond film, and it's one of those James Bond films which you now appreciate more over time. So why did he only do one Bond film? Now, of course, before him, Sean Connery managed to do 5 James Bond films, all of them scoring more and more money at the box office. So when George Lazenby took on the role, he was, first of all, he wasn't actually British, he was Australian, and that was one of the contract things he had to sign about Eon Production. He wanted the British actors, or Irish, to play James Bond. Sean Connery was, of course, George Lazenby was, of course, Australian, so that was first cause of tension. However, that was actually probably the least cause of tension. Because, of course, George Lazenby this was the first ever big role he played. The man was only 30 years old. In 1969 was the only really first ever big role he played. He hadn't really done any acting experience before Bond at all, and signing up, to a 5-film contract, i.e. he has to do 5 James Bond films, was simply too much for him to really ask at the time. So much so that after 1969, after On Her Majesty's Secret Service, that 5-film contract has since been gotten rid of. It doesn't really exist anymore. The James Bond actors can do whatever they want. So it was pretty clear that George Lazenby wasn't going to be sticking around as James Bond for very long. Whilst on set, he did not get involved with the producers. He always reported that he would always put forward ideas for what he could do, but the producers never really took any of them on board and kind of just dictated what he did. Not to mention, as soon as the film finished, he also grew a beard, and again, this was not really something that they wanted for James Bond to have. They wanted James Bond to have no beard or no facial hair, so another cause of tension, and it's pretty clear that he probably wasn't going to stay around for long. In terms of how the audience viewed not having Sean Connery's James Bond for the first time, they didn't really like it at all, really. I mean, I Managed to Get So when it came out, scored by far the least amount of money out of all the James Bond films up until that point. And when Diamonds Are Forever was released next year, and of course George Lazenby was replaced by Sean Connery, definitely was for the best in terms of money, because they made back up to the same money about where Thunderball and You Only Live Twice was. So that's simply why George Lazenby only did one Bond film. It's quite actually a straightforward answer, really. Simply, he didn't want to. It's simply, I think, just generally a combination of it was his first ever big acting role. He had to sign up to a 5-film contract he didn't want, and the producers just didn't really like him. He didn't really like the producers, so yeah, that's kind of just why I only did one Bond film, and that's actually the end of the YouTube video. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in my next YouTube video. Goodbye.